Now, racism, as we all understand, is bad. So is hate posts, so is calling for violence, so is prejudice against people because of where they were born, or the colour of their skin, or their religion, or any of that. And as we all know, that you can get booted off Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and all of the other lefty platforms like Twitter, etc., because it's bad and they don't accept it. These are the same people that told people over in America you have no reason to have guns and that violence is bad. And also the same country that tells you, or the same group of individuals that would tell you that we don't have a need for borders, that people should be able to move freely across borders, and that being the case, it all being a lovely, wonderful utopia and we're all being nice to each other, that we've no need to protect ourselves because everybody's going to get on, right? Well, no, not actually, because if you have a look to one of my sites, and I don't know which one it is because I haven't edited it at this point, Facebook have allowed people to put posts about going to fight war against the Russians, basically condoning any violent threats against Russians or the Russian state, Russian Federation, call it what you like this week. Because, now, this is the other thing I always wondered, is there such a thing as constructive racism? Is there such a thing as constructive prejudice and aiming violence in a constructive way against a foe? Well, right up until now, I was led to believe that that wasn't the case. It was a bad thing. However, you do a little bit of research. Saddam Hussein and the violence against him. Why is that? Well, we've done this 1,000 times, but it was over oil, really. And he wasn't going along with the CIA anymore. What about Gaddafi? Oh yeah, there's another one. Yeah, he wanted to start trading in something else. So, other than the petrodollar, oh, that was it, the gold dinar. So they took him out. But they had to get us all on board first. Well, it's exactly the same thing with Russia. And I don't think for a second that I'm a great Putin fan. I'm not. He is a relic of the Cold War. He is somebody who, he does hanker after the old USSR as it used to be. I think that he was quite upset when communism fell. However, he has tried to build up Russia, because after the fall of communism, Russia turned into, well, it fell apart, didn't it, as the USSR, and they all went their own way, and then Russia was skinned for a while. However, he's been doing his best to get it back to some sort of a semblance of order. Now, while I wouldn't personally want to live in Russia, I certainly wouldn't want to live in Ukraine. But it seems to me now, the same people that brought you war against the Middle East because of reasons, and back in the day, the war in Vietnam because of reasons, you could have gone to the Korea War because of reasons, and now it's the war against nasty Mr. Putin, because didn't Hillary want to do this war before Trump got in? Wasn't Hillary saying that if she got in, she would nuke Russia? A bit strong. Mind you, this is the same woman that said that can't we just drone strike the embassy in London to take out Snowden? So yeah, she's a little bit on the extreme side, but hey, there you go. That's politics for you over in America. Crazy people. The people of America are lovely. It's just the politicians in America, generally for the most part, are the most degenerative, warmongering cunts in the world. And they have a massive part to play in what they call it, the United Nations. And a lot of that is also directed from a certain small country that's surrounded by Arab Muslims, but we won't get into that. Anyway, let's go back to the war on Ukraine, or the war against the Russians. I've gone through in previous videos what I think about Ukraine, which isn't very much. If you really want to have a look at something, Oliver Stone did a documentary back in 2017. I'm only about halfway through it. I was absolutely fucking gobsmacked. I really was. It's called Ukraine on Fire, I believe it is. And if you could try to go and have a look at it, you'll get a warning saying that there's all nasty stuff in here. Do you really want to watch it? In answer to that, yes, you do, very quickly. And I believe that a lot of people at the moment that are flying the Ukrainian flag, like my local pub, which incidentally I won't be drinking in again because they've now got a Ukrainian a menu up there, you know, because Ukraine's great, right? No, it's not. The place is an absolute fucking shit tip. I wouldn't want to live in it. I feel sorry for the people that do live in it. Now, there are a lot of people who are in it that are sweet and innocent and really don't deserve any hardship. However, there has been a massive support for the Nazi ideology within the place. I do believe that one of its leaders declared that the guy who was, even while he was in prison, because I believe he got put in a prison very early on in the Second World War, but managed to have a massive part to play, even from a prison cell, in the rounding up and systematic slaughtering of Jews. And other people, obviously. There were others. But one of the leaders, as he was going out of power, actually made the guy a martyr, a hero. The following leader did take that down and reverse it, but there is a massive support for Nazism over there that the lefties want to overlook, and I can't understand how Mossad fights alongside them. But, well, business is business, isn't it? What I'm trying to say here is, we are told who to hate and when it's all right to hate. We are told that violence is bad unless it's our violence, and then, well, that's good violence, isn't it? There was a comedian, I can't remember his bloody name, he was an Australian guy who looked like a heavy metal guy, and he's saying, well, I can't believe it's not terror. Yeah, the war on terror, but ours is good terror, that kind of thing. He did a sketch, it was funny as you like. However, it was very poignant, actually, because at the moment, we're being told you can't hate against these people because, well, we like them, so you're not allowed to hate them. But we don't like Mr. Bad Guy over there because, well, it's getting in the way of, I don't know, maybe there's a problem with oil or gas, or maybe he's got too much of a grip here, or maybe he's just not going along with the New World Order, or maybe there's 101 different things. So we'll just paint them out. The guy's a madman, a lunatic, a narcissist, and all the rest of it. And we'll paint the guy who gets his cock out and plays piano as a great guy. You know, the guy that overlooks the exploitation and sales of kids. The guy that has no problems with bioweapons factories in his country, as long as he gets paid up nicely for it. You know, the same guy. And you've got to have a look at them. You've only got to see people like Zuckerberg with his arm around the president, or whatever the fuck you call that leader over in the Ukraine. Oh, best buddies. Why? Because they're all globalists and they're in it together. Now, I don't know how this is going to go. I really don't. It's not doing too well for our fuel prices over here. Why is it that there's a fight over there, right, okay, which gives them a really good reason to fucking pump up the fuel? I went past my fuel station locally, which is cheap in comparison to what you're probably paying. It was $1.55. About Tuesday, I think I had a look coming home at midnight. And I went to fill up today, it was £1.61. 3/4 of a tank in an L200 cost me 86 quid. And it's going to go up more. Because how the hell are you going to push a battery-powered vehicle, right, while the fuel's at a reasonable price? It's obvious, really, isn't it? So what we do is we say there's a problem, we can't get hold of fuel, and the fuel prices will go up, rah. Good cop, bad cop, that kind of thing. Oh, yeah, we're going to try and get the prices down. Yeah, but we got to raise taxes. Oh, but, well, yeah. And in the middle there's us lot going, I just want the fuel so I can go to work. Huh? But anyway, yeah, I should imagine it's probably going to cost me at some point way over 100 quid to fill that thing up. Does that mean I'm going to get an electric car? No, I'd sooner remove my spleen with that anaesthetic. Fuck your electric cars, because it won't be very long before they're not vogue. When I was young, which was a long while ago, back when I quite like a priest, we all ran around in leaded cars. All right, now apparently the lead was bad for kids' brains, and do you know what? I can go along with that, you know, reasonable. So they started pushing unleaded. But then very late in the 80s, they started really pushing diesel motors. I mean, they tried with diesel motors during the 80s, but they were literally dinosaur things. I mean, you'd start one up in the cold, right, and you could hear them 4 fucking miles away, rattling away until they'd warmed up. They really were medieval. And they weren't very refined, and they were a rough ride, and the vibration that went through the car, and just generally savage. It was only the diehard people I want to save money that would actually have a diesel. But anyway, they started to refine them and everybody went over to diesel. And they're saying that diesel's a lot better for the environment, and that's what we need to do because petrol's bad. All right, so what everybody did was got on board, and they slowly went over, or not so slowly, some of them, because, you know, there's the trendsetters and all the rest of it, went over and got a diesel car. And they got rid of petrol. And the fuel price that was like this, diesel was down here, petrol was up there, just started doing this. Well, imagine my shock. But of course it did. It would do. Once everybody's dependent on something, you hike the price up. That's good business. If you're a globalist, it's bad for us, and yet we still do it. So then they said that actually petrol's better for you than diesel. So did everybody go back to petrol? Well, some did, not all of them. And then we get told that what we've got to have is a vehicle that's actually a bit of both. Hybrid, I believe you call them. So everybody went out and got things like a Prius and the equivalent and all the rest of it. And off they went. They felt like they were doing their bit for the environment, because we were all on board. Back in the 80s, it was called global warming. You only got to look at Top Gear. They were doing things about it then. And then, because actually the planet wasn't warming up and that one wasn't going to stick, they called it climate change. Well, climate has changed ever since the evolution of the planet. It regulates itself. What happens is the temperature will go up for a while and come down for a while, depending on the current state of the sea. And I believe the sea has something to do with the jet stream, because the heat rises and the jet stream moves the heats to the poles to regulate the temperature of the planet, as far as I'm aware. Okay, and the planet has been doing this for, well, a lot longer than these little scientists that know everything, right? They've been telling us that everything's going to end, and you get, how dare you, she's out, well, you haven't heard much from her lately, have you? Now we've got a war on, they dropped her like a hotcake, just like I said they would, by the way. Anyway, back to the history class. So we've been told what to buy, when to buy it, and why to buy it. In the old days, as I did a video yesterday about the milkman, right? Oh yeah, that was bad, because yeah, we can get milk cheaper through the shops, and they'll do it with plastic, so we haven't got to worry about all that glass being broken and thrown away and whatever. But what it also did was push the price down for the bloke at the dairy, or the farmer actually, and it wasn't so good. But I do believe that Asda, no it's not, a co-op, actually make a loss on their milk, because they sell it at a loss to try and help the farmer, which is nice. Probably one of the only nice things they do, but nevertheless, credit where it's due. So everybody's going to go out and get an electric car, which at some point they're then going to go, this is bad because of reasons, and we'll all be pushed over to another method of transport. But in which time, most of you will be bankrupt from trying to fill up your fuel, your petrol engines or your diesel engines. And also, every time you charge an electric car, it's done a cycle. All right. Now, I believe a bunch of people who hire out cars got a Tesla, and they fast charged it 10 times, at which it broke down, wouldn't charge up. They hadn't sent it back to Tesla, at which they said you fucked the battery, and that you need a new battery, costing them thousands and thousands, by the way. At which point they decided they weren't going to hire that car out anymore, because if you're hiring a car, do you actually think they're going to want to take however many hours it is to charge it up slowly, which is good for the battery, or do you think that they're going to fast charge it? Obvious. Which leads us on to the next problem. I'm led to believe that you will be plugging your car into the grid and charging it up at night, but I believe there is talks about the grid, if it's a bit low on electric, being able to use your car as a power cell, drawing power out of it, right, for when they need it, and putting it back in. Now, if it does this overnight, you probably won't notice it, but your car will. Why? Because it's gone through a cycle twice. You've charged it up, it's run it down, and it's run it back up again. And to boot, did it fast charge it or not? I don't know. I don't know enough about it. But even if it slow charged it, what happens if you came out to go to work in the morning and you're expecting a full charge, but it's knocked half the battery, or knocked the battery out of it, and then it's half charged it back up? How does that work? Will you get to work, or have you got to pull in somewhere and charge up? Sorry, I'm late, boss. Power gen just had a fucking chunk of the battery out of my Tesla, or whatever vehicle it is. What I'm trying to say here is, there's the latest fad. There was always the latest fad, right? Whatever it was. We got on board with Iraq, we got on board with Afghanistan, we got on board with the fight against Saddam Hussein, the big dictator, and any other dictator they didn't like. And this is just the latest fad that, unfortunately, Putin stands in the way massively of globalism. Although, and I will say this, is a lot of the big groups that we all detest, that all of these globalists are in, that he's actually in himself. All right. Now, you could say that he's in it because if it makes him money and it might benefit his country, then he'd be silly not to be in it. Or you could just say he's a globalist that's playing a part, as are they, and it's all a load of Punch and Judy for us lot, sat there with our feet crossed, watching up and just bemused by it all. I always did wonder about the Cold War. Nobody ever launched, did they? but we were always terrified that they were going to. And in the middle of it, there were oligarchs on one side and globalists the other side who were making trillions out the sale of weapons and everything that keeps the Cold War going. And there was us, the idiots in between, working hard, paying extra tax to pay for this. Makes you wonder, is it all bread and circus? Are we actually at war with Russia, or is it just them playing their part and us playing our part, or the globalists playing? Just make you wonder, doesn't it? Because it all seems so unbelievable at times that you think, am I in the Matrix? This is why people suffer with mental health. This is why sometimes you've got to take a step back. But there you go. Anyway, I've had a green light for the last 2 or 3 minutes, so I best get on. I believe I'm working tomorrow, so there won't be a live stream. However, if at the last minute they decide I'm not working, I might well do one. We'll see. But at the moment, as I say, I'm saving up. Watch the last video, I'll explain why. So I've got to take every pound that I can. I've decided that the best thing that I can do is invest money into solid assets, like physical things, rather than keep money hanging around in the bank just in case, I don't know, something happened and then all our money went. Not just that, I don't want anything to do with banking if I can help it. Literally, if the system went down, right, I want to only have about 15 quid in the bank that they could take. Unlike some people that could lose everything. But anyway, there you go. Right, I'm going to go. As I said, I've got work to do, and I'll see you soon.